sound of freedom. Cheers, mate.
お疲れ様です。
Welcome on.
Oh, cheers.
Cheers,
Cheers.
cheers.
Welcome to DaDen. You have a podcast, so
I do.
you're very used to it, probably.
It's not like this. If this is what a podcast is, I don't have a podcast.
You do mainly audio, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Only audio and barely audio.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like always, everyone, welcome to DaDen. I'm your host, Masashi, and I'm with Jayden.
I am Jay. I am the Den in the Den. Great
Right.
to be back. Great to be back.
Okay, Jayden. So we have a special guest today.
Yes, we have a very special guest today. Very grateful for this guy to be another guest on our show. This person is he's actually well known in the rugby community, I think so. But he's not a player. He could be, probably is. But he's on the other side of the rugby world. He's one of the staff members. He's would you say, translator? Does a lot of translating within a lot of the top rugby teams throughout Japan, including the national team as well.
The Sunwolves.
Yes, the Sunwolves. So very grateful to have Doug on DaDen with us. So cheers for coming on, Doug.
Thank you. よろしくお願いします。
Thank you, man.
Oh, maybe his Japanese is much more better than yours.
Well, probably, most likely.
I don't know.
Doug, if you can introduce yourself to our audience.
I'm Doug, the translator. I have been translating for, I think this is my 7th year. I'm half Japanese, quarter Scottish, quarter Kiwi. I don't know why I say the Scottish, but I've never been to Scotland. But yeah, and I've been working in the rugby world, like I said, for 6 years as a translator. So I pretty much just repeat what other people say in the opposite language. And I also have a podcast, Japan Rugby Weekly, mainly just because there's not much of a representation in English of the Japan game, and I just wanted to, I guess, grow that. So we're not quite as professional as this, but yeah, every Wednesday we try and get something out. It's not always weekly, but yeah, it's yeah, I guess that's us for the podcast. I'll see you guys around.
Nah, it's mean. I've seen your potty. And I've seen the journey. We had Joe on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And we know Joe was involved with Japan Rugby Weekly.
One of the OGs.
Yeah, yes, for sure. So it's awesome to thank you for having you come onto our show today. Maybe you can help us along. We're still new into this podcasting world. So maybe you can help teach us a few things as we go through our podcast today.
Who knows? Maybe.
Yeah.
It's definitely, I think this is the first time I've been interviewed on a podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, interviewed obviously a few people. It sounds weird as someone who's got a podcast, but I'm not used to the limelight. I enjoy being, I guess, in the shadows a bit. And as a translator, you're normally supposed to be kind of hidden. You're like a ref. If you don't get noticed, you're doing a good job, I think. So it's let's see how we go. This might be all cut, and you might be like, oh, Doug can come on this week, but hopefully it's a goodie.
You speak well, man. You speak very well.
It's words just come out of my mouth.
Yeah.
You mentioned translators are supposed to be on the back, like the shadow of everything. Otani has a translator with him, but he stands out quite a lot.
It's I wish I could, but I think we're on probably different pay packets too. So I'm just like needing under his translator, being like, please give me some scraps. But no, he does a great job. I think the big thing is to portray, I guess, what the person's saying. It's not, as you say in Japanese, like chokyaku, like direct translation. If you do that, sometimes it gets lost in translation. So just about understanding what they like actually are trying to portray and getting that across. So who knows if I do that, but I mean, I've been in it for 6 years, so hopefully I'm doing something all right.
You must be.
But yeah, one day if Mr. Otani wants a Kiwi accent around.
Yeah, well, he watches the show, Shohei Otani, so.
Does he really? I don't know.
Shohei Otani watches the show.
I've got him on.
Shohei, hit us up, bro. Hit us up.
Should I call him? I've got him now.
All right, before we start, let's test out that. Let's really see how good your Japanese is. I'm sure it's perfect, but we done with Joe, and he done not too bad. So how about you introduce yourself, whatever you want in Japanese.
Sure. はじめまして、ピックン・ダグラスと申します。ニュージーランドと日本のハーフです。ラグビーが好きです。ニュージーランドのチーム、ウォリアーズが好きです。
Afterwards. Yeah.
よろしくお願いします。
Oh, man, that was perfect. There you go, people. He's not lying when he's
I only say things I know.
Yeah, nah.
That's mainly language. So
Yeah.
you only talk about what you know.
It's if someone in Japanese, like sometimes we have like a mental skills coach will say stuff, about the brain function and all that. I'm like, you said, calm down. No. So I don't know what this means, but it's always a learning process. I think if you're under pressure, helps you learn. So yeah, I'm sure you guys. I mean, you're behind the scenes a lot, but there's probably a lot of things I can learn about you, from you as well. So, yeah.
All right, but before we start again, let's do another icebreaker. We're going to do the Fire 5. Fire 5. So we've done it with... Suda's done it, and Joe's also done it. And just Fire 5 questions. Try and answer as quickly as you can.
So
don't think...
Not like Joe.
Feel. No, Joe, take 5 minutes.
That's pretty much the whole podcast. Is like,
So just try... Think as fast as you can, okay? So, first question. In a movie about Doug, what movie star would you get to play you?
Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Because he's short.
Who's Danny DeVito? I've heard that name before.
He's like a short. He's the guy with like an old guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Next
I'll
question.
show you a picture later.
Karaoke song. Go to karaoke song. Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
You have to put a picture
The one
up.
from,
He's much better looking than me. I'd say I like Celine Dion.
Celine Dion.
My Heart Will Go On.
All right. Give us a bit. Yeah, here we go. Give us a little bit.
You're here. No. I can't sing
on,
in
mate.
front.
Don't be shy.
After this.
Yeah.
Once we finish. Yeah.
Next question. Guilty pleasure.
What do I like? It's got to be fast. I'm real into those new shake smoothie things you can get from 7-Eleven.
7-Eleven?
Oh, okay.
Well, I love going for walks, and I always go past here trying to burn calories, and then I probably ingest more calories than I burn, but who's counting?
Earn the treats, eh? Earn the treats, yes. Next question. Useful Japanese slang.
Maji is a good one.
Maji.
Maji.
Okay.
Like hontoni.
Oh, yes. Maji means like really or what? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I translated Japanese to Japanese with maji and hontoni. Yeah.
And last question. One thing we don't know about you.
My brother plays, he just represented NZ in futsal recently, so shout out to Tom. In the futsal, the
Indoor
national
soccer.
with five-a-side, so he
New
just...
Zealand has a team.
Mm,
Oh, wow.
they're qualifying next week, I think, for the World Cup, or they're trying to, and I think he's been named in that as well, but he recently went to China to play in his first cap, so watched him online with that, and proud picking moment, so nice Tom.
Awesome. Shout out to Tom. All the best. What do they call themselves?
Futsal Whites, I think.
Futsal
I actually can't remember, but...
Shout out to the Futsal Whites and Tom.
Because, the All Blacks are the rugby team, and then All Whites are the soccer team, so I think it's Futsal White, or maybe...
Futsal
Yeah,
Whites.
I can't remember.
Do you know what the badminton team's called?
I know what they used to be called.
What are they used to be called?
The Blackhawks.
Okay.
Really?
Because of the shuttlecocks, the thing that they had.
Oh, wow. You guys got New Zealand.
And it's changed now, I think.
I'm sure,
Black
yeah.
shuttles,
No,
black
a
shuttle
lot of
hopes
problem
there.
with that name.
Yeah, the large...
Large.
The large black
Yeah.
shuttles.
Cancelled. We've had a good run.
Nah, awesome, bro. Thanks for participating in 5-5. You're very calm when answering those.
It's Kirin Ichiban Shibori.
Yeah. Put
Sponsor.
it down.
The Den, please. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Not an ad, but it can be. Not an ad, but it can be.
Unofficial sponsor. They
Yes.
are the beer of the Dynaballs. So.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, and I forgot to say in my introduction, I work with the Dynaballs at the moment, the Mighty Balls.
Mitsubishi Dynaballs. Up the balls.
Is that what you
or
guys saying?
like Tusks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll get more into that a little bit later on with your journey with the pro rugby team. But
Sweet.
take us back to a young Doug where you grew up.
So I was born in Fukushima in Aizu Wakamatsu, which is, Noguchi Hideo. He's the person in the 1,000-year note. I think it's going to change, but he was born in the same city as me. So I think he used to say he was born in the same city as Doug.
Yeah, probably.
He was born like 100 years.
Most likely.
I don't know how old he is, but yeah.
Quite old.
We watched, we used to watch videos or movies about him at school.
Okay.
He's a guy who, when he was little, he fell into a fire. His hand got all burnt, and then he became a doctor-y kind of someone who looked up medicine and stuff, I think. So that's why he's quite famous in Japan. And grew up there for a bit. went back to New Zealand for a bit, came back for Yochien or kindergarten, and kind of back and forth ever since. So, yeah.
Also, you were born in Japan.
Yeah.
And your parents are which one?
My mum is from Fukushima, so I grew up in a little town called Tadami, which is famous. It's got like, I don't know, 200 people or something, but it's got, great rice, great ski fields as well. So yeah, great place to grow up.
So you went back to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Your dad's New Zealander.
Yeah. So kind of back and forth. My dad was, I think before I was born, he went to Tadami, the little town, and it was like through the, when he was on the train, pretty much at every stop, as they went more and more into the countryside, the, train conductor would come over and ask like, are you sure you haven't gone too far? Because they'd never seen a foreigner, go that far in the 80s or the 90s. So he was one of the first, I guess, foreigners to settle around there. But he learned how to grow rice with my
Rice. What is a rice?
It's the famous Fukushima.
It's the new rice.
Fukushima rice.
Fukushima.
It's all on Japan Rugby.
Yeah.
Our official sponsor. But yeah, learned how to grow. Jeez, I was about to say it again. Rice with my granddad and stuff. So yeah, he was immersed in the culture.
Oh, so why was your dad in Japan and then went to Fukushima?
He met my mum in Aussie, so he grew up in NZ but went over to Aussie. I think he was like working in a bank or something, but and then mum went over for a working holiday, and then they headed off at the backpacker or whatever, and then he followed her back to Japan and didn't really know much Japanese, but was in a town, a village, with just all these oji-san, oba-san, all the aunties and uncles, and just learning Japanese off them. So he knows a bit of Fukushima slang, or like the Fukushima ben. So he says a few things that people in Tokyo might not understand.
Do you speak any Fukushima ben?
I know a few words, like, should we do a fast five?
Yeah.
I don't know if I got 5 on me, but do you know Sasuke?
No.
It's kind of like deja vu. It's like, it's all right kind of thing. If someone says, oh, do you want something? You're like, oh, no, Sasuke or Sasuke be.
Have you heard that before?
So weird. No.
Or Zunai. You know Zunai?
Zunai.
Orki.
Oh,
So, like big.
Oh.
So people used to say to me, I'd be back and forth. So 3 years had passed since they last seen me, and they'd be like, oh, Zunakunatta na. And like, you've got so big.
Okay.
So it's a lot of those words. And I didn't really know what was, Tadami ben and what was normal Japanese, Hyojungo. So sometimes I would, when I was a little, use stuff in Tokyo, and people would be like, was that English? Kind of thing. So, yeah.
Is Fukushima ben and Tadami ben? You said Tadami. Is it different?
I think Tadami ben's maybe a little bit more rural. So they say a few things that maybe in Fukushima, like the big city, they wouldn't necessarily say.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is like their intonation, which
Yeah.
I've kind of lost. I can't really do it anymore, but the way they kind of rise is, different. So it's an interesting part about the culture. I think like as soon as you hear someone talk, you can kind of guess where they're from. So, yeah.
Interesting.
That's awesome. So you went... Do you go back to Fukushima much? Do your grandparents live there? Or?
So I used to go back quite a bit when I was still living in Yokohama before I started this translation stuff. But just before COVID, my grandma passed away, and then obviously haven't been able to be back. I wasn't able to go back during COVID. And then, since then it's been a bit busy. I've got like aunties and cousins and stuff over there, but hoping to go back, sometime soon. It's a bit harder when, I guess, my grandma's house isn't there anymore. So it's like she used to have, like 8 rooms or something. You can just stay in one whenever.
Yeah.
Now I've got to book it a bit more and like work out where to stay and stuff. So, a Kiwi, I'm too awkward. I'm just like, I just sleep outside. So, yeah.
Is there anything in Fukushima that you would recommend to anyone that would travel there, or something they can do in Fukushima?
In Aizu Wakamatsu is where because I was back and forth, my dad came over to work as a jet, so English language teacher, kind of assistant person, and he got placed in Aizu Wakamatsu, so that's where I was born, but also 2 hours away from my grandparents. So we got to stay in Japan for 2 years while I was at primary school, and that's kind of where I picked up some of the language. But Aizu Wakamatsu's got a castle called Tsurugajo, which is a real famous castle. It's when I think Japan, it was kind of becoming more open to the West. It was one of the last places that didn't want it. So they had kind of like a civil war-y thing, and the head, I guess, samurai or the guy who was running the castle was 13 or something, and ended up getting cannonballs through the castle. They'd go through this tunnel, went up to a mountain, saw it was burning, so they all did seppuku and committed suicide. And we went along the same tunnel that he did, a few hundred years ago and stuff. So that's pretty scary thinking about it and stuff. As a 13-year-old, I was just like wanting as many $2 lolly mixes from the dairy as possible in New Zealand. But yeah, it was. I think I was around the same time same age when I went through that. So that's a pretty cool experience. And then near there, they've got kita kata ramen, I think it's called, which is a famous style of ramen. So
Kita kata ramen.
Hope I'm saying it right. I haven't been back in ages, so like you always second guess yourself when you're on here. Right? Like, this comment's going to be like, Doug, actually, that's wrong. Yeah.
Don't worry, bro. Just be confident with it. Even if you're wrong, just
sorry, I'm slouching.
fake it till you make it.
That's my biggest philosophy in translation. So.
Oh yeah. There's also good skiing fields in Fukushima as well.
Yeah.
Because when I used to university, we used to go to Fukushima for like a week and a half. So I don't really have good memories of Fukushima because that was where we used to run up and down all those ski fields. Food was good.
Yeah.
Food was good, and it's a little bit cooler. But those mountains don't make good for rugby teams because all you're doing is running up and down them all morning.
Heaps. Like we'd get like 2 meters, 3 meters of snow. Like if you didn't, clean it up every morning. So at night, at the middle of the night at my grandma's house, you just hear this big kind of machine going up the road. You look outside, it's got all these flashing lights. It looks kind of like a UFO kind of thing. It's pretty much pushing the snow all either onto a bank or into the river. But yeah, you could easily step out from the second floor onto the snow. You'd sink, obviously, but it's pretty cool to see that much snow. I'd never seen snow before that. And the snow was mean, but because we had snow, we had this tiny hill at our primary school, and they had sometimes in PE you had to go like up and down the slope, but it was with your whole year, so you had like 100 kids, and at the slope it takes like 2 seconds to go down. So you go down it, then you have to basically walk with your skis on, try and do the thing around the 400 meter track, and then you have to walk up sideways up the hill, and then you do another 2 seconds of sliding. So it's like maybe you get 3 slides in an hour. And there was a snow ski class kind of thing. So I've got mixed memories of it, but yeah, it's a great place to go. And if I was doing something like this full time, where I could be wherever I wanted, I reckon somewhere up there, at least for winter, would be mean, because do this half the day and then go skiing half the day.
And then so you were born in Fukushima and you went back to New Zealand.
Yeah.
Whereabouts in New Zealand are you from?
Rotorua.
Oh, Road to Vegas.
The geothermal capital of New Zealand.
Yes, the city that smells like eggs.
Yeah. That doesn't sound right.
It's rotten eggs.
Rotten
actually,
eggs.
Yeah.
That sounds disgusting.
It's the sulfur.
So it's like Shinjuku. Shinjuku smells like that. Shinjuku smells like a rotten egg, dude.
Have you been to Beppu?
Beppu, yeah. Oh, yeah. The onsen.
Yeah, that kind of smell.
Oh,
Beppu's
okay.
Rotorua's sister city.
Yeah.
So they're connected through that.
Oh,
so,
wow.
that kind of sulfur smell. A lot of people don't like it because I've grown up with it. I love it. Like whenever I go home, I'm like, this is...
Yeah, it's an acquired smell. Every time I used to go to Rotorua.
Yeah.
Oof.
That doesn't sound healthy.
It helps our sports teams as well, because whenever people come in, they're like,
Yeah.
it takes them half the game to get used to it.
Went there for a touch tournament, and oh man, the smell. It takes a lot to get used to.
Because I've kind of grown up with it. Even when I go back now, there's a few like roads where you can really smell it because of like the sulfur, and I love it. And there's a few hot pools and stuff around. You're not
Yeah, the hot pools are real nice.
You're not nude in them like in Japan onsen, but it's I mean, you'd get weird looks if you.
Oh, what, really? If you like full nude?
Because it's just a pool pretty much.
Oh,
but
like a warm pool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like a pool. Well, there's a few that are like private ones, like you'd have over here, but I'm pretty sure people would still, I guess, go on them with togs or swimmers.
Swimmers? Don't you wear that?
Togs.
I guess it's togs and two you've on, yeah. Official. But yeah, so you'd wear togs. But nah, Rotorua, sorry, I love going on tangents, but Rotorua was, I went to Rotorua Boys High.
Oh, you went to Rhoda's Boys as well.
Boys High Tweeter.
Yeah.
Haven't done that in.
Which high school did you go to?
I went to Duluth.
You
I
guys,
went to Scotland. No,
I mean,
I'm
you
in
guys played-
Auckland. No, we
Oh.
don't. You guys, that's a different. It's like, I would be in Tokyo, and he would be in like
Fukushima.
Fukushima.
That's freaking far.
It's like a bit of a my area is like the city.
Mm.
It's like the city. It's like Tokyo, and Rotorua is like a real cultural. I reckon it would be like Fukuoka. I reckon.
Yeah.
It's quite a rich culture
A
type
lot
of city that smells like eggs, but
So a lot of like nature.
a lot of
Yeah.
nature. Yeah.
There's more. I can't remember how many, but there's heaps of lakes. More than 10. I think. Yeah, I can't remember how many lakes, but heaps of lakes around. So everyone does a lot of jet skiing, and they have the world mountain bike champs there quite a lot because they got a lot of mountain
Oh.
biking. So we'd always after school bike up to the forest and go for mountain bikes and stuff. So yeah,
Okay.
great nature. I think that was my favorite part about Rotorua. Just every summer, mountain bike. You can come out to the lake and then have a dip at the lake, and then Mum would come pick us up, kind of thing, or we'd just bike down the hill home, and yeah,
It's probably the most popular tourist destination. Would you think, Rotorua?
maybe. I reckon it's probably up there in North Island, but you've got like Queenstown, which
Oh, yeah,
everyone
yeah.
loves. I've only been to Queenstown once, but I think Queenstown's way more touristy in terms of everything costs like heaps.
Yeah.
Rotorua is not as bad, but there's
Yeah,
also a lot of, I think Rotorua there's a lot more, culture there though. So you can go see a lot of the Kiwi birds and stuff, and a lot of Māori shows as well. So a lot of culture.
A lot of activities to do as well, like the luge is in.
Oh yeah,
The luge and the gondola.
Yeah, so
That's all in Rotorua, and then you got the Zorb. The Zorb's there.
yeah. I've never actually done the Zorba.
No, I've never. I wouldn't. I don't want. I hate being in small spaces,
It's
so I wouldn't want
it's
to do
too
that.
expensive.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
too. But the farming show.
Oh yeah. My
Yeah,
dad
yeah.
used to work at Fairy Springs, which is like the farm show area.
Oh
so
yeah, is that the one where they have like the fish? Not the fish, the sheep on like a pedestal, and they.
Oh yeah.
Is that the place? And
Yeah.
the dogs run up and down
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, man. I remember
like-
going there as a little kid.
It's across the road, like one side's Fairy Springs and then the other side's a farm show. So he worked
Yeah.
on the other side where he'd take tours. Like he'd learned Japanese by then, so he'd take Japanese tours, seeing the rainbow trout and all that stuff.
Oh,
so he used to, he knew it was pretty much just learning a speech. So
Yeah,
when
yeah.
he's in front of the rainbow trout, he'd be like, "Oh, rainbow trout, this." I don't know what it is in Japanese,
Yeah.
but yeah.
While living in Rotorua, did you have like any small Japanese community, or how did you remind yourself of the Japanese culture while living in
Nice.
Rotor Vegas?
Jeez, what a question. Tingle. No, my mum like always only spoke to me in Japanese.
Okay.
So, but then I'd always speak to her in English. So, yeah, it was like it was kind of weird. Like people who'd come over and like I guess hear it for the first time, they would just not know what's going on because they can only hear half of the conversation. But I do that, and Mum knew quite a few Japanese she had friends around Rotorua, so we'd kind of have barbecues and stuff and meet some kids who were also half Japanese as well. And but then after I went to school in Japan for a few years, my dad wanted me to keep up my Japanese, so I started doing correspondence Japanese classes as like an extra class at high school.
Oh,
so
nice.
I just go into a room. I think it was like the room where the other students were learning Chinese, but we didn't have a Japanese teacher at our school, so I just get stuff sent to me from Wellington. I just do it myself and then send it back. So yeah. And then in terms of the cultural stuff, my cousins used to video on like tape our favorite shows from Japan, and then they'd send them over, and me and my brothers would just watch them on tape on DVD and watch Ghibli, and
Oh, okay.
I know all the words to Totoro basically because I watched it like 1,000 times. So.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Can you sing it for us?
It's more like the little, girls are the main characters, so it suits my voice quite well. But whenever somebody we'll just be watching something, and then I'll know what words are coming up next. But heaps of Japanese people can do that as well, so I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Oh,
Oh, you kind of ran away from the.
yeah, I was going to say, back to the original question. Can you sing it for us?
It's there's no real song.
Is there?
But the songs don't really have words.
What?
No, I'm not so much the songs, more like the dialogue. I'm good at. You need to give me a.
Wait,
I need two people to do it.
You've been in Japan for a while. Don't you go to karaoke?
Oh yeah. karaoke, I'm after a few more of these, I'm okay with karaoke. But the first time I went to karaoke was with this guy who used to cut my hair. Used to go to like a 1,000 yen place. I randomly got him a few times, and he saw I could speak a bit of Japanese. He's like, oh, like we should go to karaoke or something. Like we should hang out. I was like, yeah. Went at like lunchtime. Sober. I had work after that. He brought his friend who I never met before, and he was just sing a song. And I was like, and then he just like. So and then I think I ended up just wording Eminem or something that
Eminem.
you don't have to, you just say the words, and then people who don't know English are like, whoa, that sounds like Eminem, but it doesn't. And I've forgotten all the words, by the way.
You're just singing gibberish.
Yeah. That's pretty much it.
What? Just, all right, well, very good of you to avoid that question.
Like once again.
Maybe
like how we started, can you sing Totoro? And it turned into karaoke at lunchtime.
Yeah. Totoro, well, the only song I really remember is the one where, the like, Makuro Kurosuke.
Yeah. Makuro Kurosuke tete oide.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not really, that's a chant. No?
It's a chant. It's more like a chant.
Yeah. But yeah, the song when they're all flying away.
Yeah.
It's like dun 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 dun, and then
But that's not even in a song. That's more like a
rhythm.
Like
but
a
I just like
BGM kind
my favorite part of the movie. Just at the like in between, there's just some random sound where it's like, and I just keep copying that, and people just think I'm a weirdo, but maybe I am.
Well, you didn't sing the Totoro song, the main song.
Oh, that song.
That song? Totoro.
Yeah, I can't remember that song.
Really?
I'm always in tears by then. I'm very good at wiggling away from things.
Yeah, you are.
You just spoke a whole thing about karaoke at lunchtime, rhythms.
So back to
the original question. No, but we'll forget about the song. Maybe a couple more Kirans later.
Yeah.
But you said that you learned Japanese correspondingly by classroom.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you to learn like that? Because for me, when I was trying to learn Japanese, the best way for me that I thought was to learn was to, when I came to Japan, surround myself in the culture and kind of be forced to learn it. But for me, learning in the classroom, it just never came in. Like it'd come in one ear and go straight out the other. How was it for you learning pretty much in the classroom?
I think because I had those, like I could always speak a little bit.
Yeah.
So whenever I came back to Japan, it would take me like a few days. And like when I first see my cousins and stuff, it wouldn't come out as quick. But then after a few days, it'd all start coming back to me.
Yeah.
So I always kind of had that base, which was good. And then the 2 years at primary school over here, I started in year 4. So it was pretty, intense. I hadn't learned any kanji, and I had to learn, people expected me to know, that Ichinen-sei to Sannen-sei, the first 3 years of kanji. And I mean, I couldn't even really do things like science and stuff because I couldn't read the question.
Yep.
So that was pretty tough. We had I'm pretty sure pretty much every day after school, I'm just trying to do these kanji drills while I was over here, just crying because it'd take me 3 hours when it'd take my friends. They'd do it as they're packing up to go home. So they could, they're like, oh, come out to play soccer. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to take me, I'll see you in 3 hours kind of thing. So I think that gave me that base where I kind of knew what I needed to know. And then because I had that competence, I knew the base. It was kind of interesting to learn other stuff. And I was like, oh, okay, I know this much. So then I asked for the next level. And it was just me by myself. And I got my own pace. And I think once you get to a certain level, it gets, more interesting. And then once you reach the next level, it gets frustrating again kind of thing. So in between levels, it's quite fun. So I was just lucky to be in there. And I think the lady who I was doing correspondence with, she wasn't native Japanese or anything. She was a Kiwi who learnt Japanese. So I think, there were parts where I maybe learnt better Japanese from home than, I was used to getting from her just because she wasn't native. So I think that kind of helped me a bit as well. Every day I was living with my auntie once I graduated uni over here, and my head was sore trying to use Japanese because my auntie can't speak English, and just kanji. It's still, I struggle. I'm a lot better, but writing I'm still terrible. But you don't really need to write anymore.
Yeah,
you can
you're
type everything. As long as you can read stuff, it's all good. But definitely struggle sometimes. But I mean, I enjoy it. So
even till now, you can't write kanji?
I can write some, but definitely not I
Like
guess
a native
yeah,
person.
someone who grew up over here. I went through a phase where I just be writing every day, and I got like way better at it. But just because the only times I'd ever use it are when I'm as a translator going to the shiakshu or the city office with the players and writing out their address and stuff, and so doing that a few times a year kind of thing. So apart from that, you hardly ever write. The only times you might write is if you're in the rugby, like the meeting, and the coach is like, "Oh, can you just write up that answer in Japanese?" I'm like, when you're up there in front of the boys, and they're gonna make fun of you, like, I've forgotten hiragana. It's not something that you use that much over here, to be honest. So if you're learning Japanese at the moment, I think listening, speaking, reading's pretty important. But I think those three things before writing is probably a good way to go.
Yeah, like I can relate to you on that. About like how you have to write in front of the other people in Japanese, like whatever, like in the meeting especially, like I'm sure you had to write like rugby plays, what the coach was saying to the players who don't speak Japanese as a first language. Like I had to do that for my work. So I do like TV shows. When I was doing TV shows back in the day when I was an assistant director, I had to write whatever they said on the board.
Oh, yeah.
I did my best to avoid that. Like I had another guy who was an assistant director as well. So there was two assistant directors, me included. I was just not gonna move. I'm like, I'm not gonna go up there and write it.
Yeah.
You go up there, write it, because you're more Japanese than I am.
Yeah.
I can't write crap. So
it's very if somebody says something and I don't know if it's like a real, like rugby stuff I'm pretty used to, and rugby terms I know, but if it's something about I don't know, as staff, how can we be better or something, and we use all these words, like what are some words that are important to us or something, and we use harder words, I'm kind of like, I think I know what that means, but sometimes you're like, when you got to translate it, you got to know exactly what it means. So it's a bit different to if you're just listening to a meeting and you're like, oh, and you can just nod your head. If you don't know what something means and you translate it wrong, then half the team get the wrong message. So that's, I guess, a bit of things that some things I feel pressure about. But
So finished high school, then you came back to Japan.
so I went to uni in Auckland.
Okay.
Pretty much, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was pretty good at like math. So I did.
Oh wow.
So I did stats as one of my majors, just because my dad was like, oh, that you can kind of use it anywhere. Everything wants stats, especially now, like with all the social media and stuff. Everything's about the stats of how well you're doing and all that, and counting trends. So, and it was something that kind of interested me. But the thing I loved the most was sports. So I did sports science, which is pretty much just like we did a few classes with the guys trying to be doctors, a few with people in the PE field and stuff and all that. And you could do that a few places in New Zealand, but I wanted to go up to Auckland because I wanted a season pass to the Warriors. Went to Auckland for 3.5 years and then came over here.
So you're a league boy. You're a league guy.
I only ever, like, I played under 8s rugby, then I played soccer because I was coming over here and I knew Fukushima didn't have rugby, and then played soccer like for ages, football, and then doing that, tennis, rugby league as well, but I was small and it was I was getting smashed every time, but that's part of the fun. And then
What period of the Warriors were you watching? What years were that?
So I was in Auckland from 2012 to 15. So it was just after they made the grand final in 2011. So I was pretty sad. Pretty much they didn't make the finals the whole time I was
2012 to 2015.
So yeah.
Is that what your first 3 years of uni?
Yeah.
Oh, so you're only 28? 29.
Yeah, 29 now. 30 this year. So.
oh, you guys are
Same age, yeah. 2012 is when I finished high school, I think.
So what are
Not
you?
too sure.
1994.
95, but I'm
Same as my brother.
Ichigatsu.
Oh,
What's
nice.
that? January.
Oh, nice.
What the hell?
Do you do SCAT tests, like the HI tests?
Yeah.
And you got to go December.
Yeah.
I have to I have to do all those for the foreign boys. But everyone's like, can I do it in Japanese? Yeah.
What is that?
SCAT test is the concussion protocol test.
Oh,
If
whether
get
you have
knocked
any concussion.
out, if you have any, and there's this one part where they go, like say the months, and then you say it backwards, and then like say it from like some certain point. But if you say it in Japanese, 6月、7月、8月. Instead of
so
saying
it's numbers.
January, February, March, April, May. Or you gotta say it in English.
So yeah, the
But it's
foreign
easier
boys,
to say it in Japanese.
it's like we have to do a baseline test. So, you know, because some people are obviously better at tests than other people. So you have to see what their normal level is when they're not concussed. So if they do maybe get concussed, you can compare it, because you can't compare, you know, me and JJ's way smarter than me. So even when I'm not concussed, they'll be like, Doug, you failed everything. And it's like, no, but it's because I'm naturally dumb, you know? So it's, yeah.
Well, like say like, okay, you guys use that test, right? And then a person actually gets a concussion during the match. How do you, like, on the spot, do you guys test them?
So they first do a few tests on the field with like the doctor. It's kind of like, I think they normally ask like, where are you? Like, what's the name of the stadium? Who are you versing? What was the result of the last game and stuff? But I'm never on there to do that, so I'm not 100% sure. And then if they don't pass that, then they go into the locker room and they got 15 minutes and they got to do this test. And they do all the things that they did, you know, on the baseline, and then you just compare it to see if they're worse or not. So yeah,
it's quite difficult. Like even if you're not concussed, like, there's like a walking test. Like close your eyes and stand on one foot and hold it for like
balance test.
Yeah, balance test and stuff like that. It's quite difficult even if you're not concussed. So being after, I've done it a lot. I've done it about 3 times, and I've only passed once. But the other 2 I failed after the walking pass, because it's actually very difficult. Because they ask real simple questions like, "Where are you?" Earth.
I hope. Plenty of the Fs. But yeah, it's very like, I think that's why they need the baseline, because, you know, but it's real different, because in the baseline you're all calm, like it's not midway through a game, so your heart rate's not going crazy, and you know kind of the pressure of if you don't pass it, then you can't come back, and you've pretty much got like a week at least where you have to go through these steps to be able to play the next week. So if it's a real important game and stuff, but that's why they make it strict, because some people, you know, when the results are important, they'll just pretend they're okay.
Yeah, it's quite dangerous too. Like, it's not something that you really want to muck around with, because a concussion in rugby can lead to some very big injuries later down the road. So I think it's important to really be tough on it, because sometimes, but it is pretty big, because if you do get knocked out, that's 2 weeks gone right there. You're not allowed to do anything for 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
So you're away for, no exercise for 1 week, and then you rehab for a week, and then you lose 2 weeks right there. So it's quite a big loss, but if you think about it, it's not worth the risk.
I think it's kind of like, it's a bit weird, because it depends on the level and stuff, and if it's, for our guys, if it's a training one, then it's definitely 12 days. But if it's a proper game, like a Koshiki-sen, league game, then because there's so many cameras and they can see how it happened, if it's an okay one, then sometimes they say it's only a week. So that kind of makes it a bit grey sometimes. But yeah, a lot of the coaches, even if it's an important game, they know how serious concussions are. So no coach is going to be like, no, we need him on. They'll just, you know, if they hear concussion and he failed, then there's no arguing. It's just, okay, we'll put this guy on kind of thing. So it's, something that thankfully they take seriously. I think they're learning a lot more about it now. So yeah.
How did you maintain your language though during university? Because that would have been difficult to balance your studies.
Yeah.
Because I know when you go Auckland Uni, and if you're studying, it's full on. It's real full on. Because I know one of the reasons why I came to Japan was you could play sport and study.
Yeah.
But I know in New Zealand, if you want to play a high level of rugby or a high level of sport, it's quite difficult to balance both sport at like a semi-pro level and study, which is why you have to make the decision of either doing sport or rugby. How was it for you to balancing both your studies and trying to maintain Japanese and playing a bit of sport as well? How was it for you?
I think because in Japan, from what I've seen, pretty much from like primary, sometimes even before, like people were just going to jukus, you know, cram schools and stuff to try and get into uni. But it seems like once you get into uni, you're pretty much like graduated. Like once you're in there, like the last year or so, you're doing shushoku, you know, you're trying to find a job. So in New Zealand, I think because we've got such a small population, they want as many people to go into uni as possible. But you don't necessarily have to graduate. Like every time you go in, you're giving the uni money. So they, you know, it's pretty easy to get into uni in New Zealand, but it's quite hard to get out. So I think my last year, especially because I knew I wanted to come to Japan, and if I failed a class, I knew I had to wait another year. I was like, there was a lot of pressure doing a lot of studying, so it wasn't as much of a, I guess, social life then. Obviously, you're still flatting, so yeah, you know, it gets away from you sometimes, the study. But,
Flatting in Auckland.
you know, with 4 other guys. So
yeah.
it's very dangerous. You go home and they just got a yard class for you in the middle of the exams because it's your
Do
birthday.
they have that in America, like yardies?
Yardies?
It's like
a
a
yard glass.
yard of beer, or it can be anything, but it's just a huge glass. Like if you look up yardie glass, it will come up with like it looks like a big flask thing that you use in science, but it's got like this big bulb on the bottom,
Oh, yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
and you pretty much have to,
Yeah, they have it in the States, yeah.
they time it like on our 21st birthday, like, but mine, because I was there, like,
Did you do one for your 21st?
I did too, because one,
New Zealand, you get it on your 21st.
You have to do it.
You don't have to, but I never did. I was like, I'm not doing one. I'm stuffed there.
well, because, it was, I think every year that I was at uni, because I'm born in November, so I had an exam on my birthday. So my 21st, I always had an exam on my birthday, so I was just studying. And then I had another 2 exams the week after my birthday, so I was like, okay, I'll do one after that. And all the boys were like, oh, yes. And they had the glass ready just in case. And then I got home after my exam on my birthday. I'm like, 2 more to go, kind of thing. And they've just got it filled with water. They're like, this won't make you drunk. But you got to do a yard of something on your birthday. And then I did it, and luckily I spewed like heaps of it out. But afterwards, like pretty much, I think the next year in one of my sports science classes, they told you like you can die from taking too much water because your body naturally doesn't want to, like throw up water. It's something good for you. It's not like, alcohol, which is pretty much poisonous to you. So your body, it's quite hard to throw it up. But if you don't, then your brain, everything else can expand and be fine, but your brain can't. So it'll expand with the water and it can cause a lot of damage. And so I was just like, man, lucky I was able to spew it out like afterwards. I was like, and that was kind of stupid. So a few of the mates afterwards were like, yeah, that was kind of lucky kind of thing, but it's just, some of the stupid things you do. And then a week after my last exam, we had a bit of a party and had to do another yard class. And then, in terms of the actual learning, keeping up my Japanese, because I knew I wanted to go to Japan, and there are a few classes because I was doing a double major, it didn't fit as well as single degrees would. So I had to do 3.5 years because there were a few papers that I couldn't, fit in, if that makes sense. Like there were some that you can only do the first half of the year, and I had too many there. So I had this one semester where I had a few empty slots, and I pretty much had to do something, otherwise I wouldn't get the benefits from the government as a student, because I would be a part-time student. So I took a level 3 Japanese course. Oh, nice. And that helped me keep it up. And the end of year thing for that, we went to like a Japanese restaurant and stuff, and I think there was one other maybe half Japanese guy, but everyone else had just been learning Japanese for 3 years. And I actually met a couple guys through there. One of them came over to Japan afterwards when I was living here, and he stayed with me for a week. So it was a great experience to, I guess, learn Japanese there. A few people looked at me a bit weird because I hadn't done any of the first or second year. I tried to do a second year course, did a test, and they said, no, you're going to do third year. And then people were like, this Japanese guy coming into a class when I learned it from scratch kind of thing. So at the start, people were looking at me a bit weird, but I hopefully won some of them over.
How was it? Like, I've never really met any people learning Japanese in Japan. How do those guys?
They were pretty good, eh?
Oh, yeah?
I was like, because the stuff was pretty, like the kanji stuff, it was at a speed where, I could learn it, but it was kanji that I had never learned before. So it was all stuff that I had to learn as well. But I think the added pressure of being a half Japanese guy in there kind of gave me motivation. I was like, I can't lose, to be, not because, of arrogance or anything, but it would be embarrassing if people who have no Japanese in them, who haven't grown up with Japanese mum, are better than me. So it kind of motivated me. But yeah, everyone was real nice, and did a few like kind of speeches and stuff and conversations with some of them, and they were real, like they just love Japanese culture, and I think they gave them heaps of motivation to, do it well. And yeah, they
Do you know the reason why they chose to study Japanese? Were they wanting to move over to Japan to work? Or?
Yeah, some were. One of the guys, I don't know if this was his main reason, but his missus at the time, maybe still now, I'm not too sure, but was a half Japanese as well. So he was living with her and her mum, I guess. So just, being able to speak to that side of the family and stuff. And I think that kind of gave him a big interest in Japanese as well, I'd assume. So yeah, I think obviously a lot of people know a lot about Japanese culture through, anime and stuff. So it's, a lot of people just want to come over here, experience it, and it's pretty good.
What's the
culture.
benefits of graduating in a degree in Japanese language? Is there any big massive benefits?
I think some people, maybe they want to be do translation stuff.
Oh, okay.
I'm not too sure because I only did it for one semester, but so half a year. But I'd assume it'd be, or you can maybe go into tourism and stuff as well. So
okay.
being able to speak both would probably help with all the, even if you came over here and you work at, a ryokan, a hotel or a Japanese inn, being able to speak English would definitely be a big help, and knowing enough Japanese to get by.
Yep.
So, they got those, what are they, JLTP or something like the Japanese
JLPT,
learning proficiency tests. So a lot of those, if you want to come work over here and you're fluent in English, then having level 1 or 2 in those is quite handy to get a job from experience. So.
Have you ever taken the JLPT test?
No, never.
I reckon you do quite well. There's
Is there any benefits from taking it?
Quite a lot.
Oh, really?
I'm surprised you didn't take it yet.
It's
No.
a
Do you
lot
take
of
it?
work.
Am I supposed to take it in university or?
No.
You have to take it when you're working in Japan.
Oh no, I've never. I've only just started learning about the English version, the IELTS one. It's because of my English conversation classes, so I decided to study about that to help teach them. But I didn't know there was a Japanese version of it.
Yeah, Japan has they have their own version, like JLPT test, where they test your proficiency. So if you want to take the kanji test, then you could take that as well. If you want to take just like the language itself, like interview and stuff like that, you could take that as well. So there are multiple ones. So like JLPT is just your language proficiency for Japanese. So it's all about Japanese proficiency. But there is another test called I forgot the name of it, but it tests your kanji. So in Japanese, we kanji kente. What was it in English?
I'm not sure. I know about it, but I've never done it.
Yeah, so there's
too
like yeah, I know what you mean. There are like 5 levels of it. Level 5 is, I think, is the lowest, and then it goes higher and higher. So if you have kanji kente, first level kanji kente, which is like ikkyu, that's the most proficient level you can get for kanji. It is the most hardest because it's kanji that you don't use at all. Like for example, like coffee. Coffee has a kanji.
Coffee has a kanji, not
Yes.
kohi.
No, not coffee. Coffee has a kanji.
Oh man, I can do that in katakana.
Like like ka. There's ka and then he and then it's we call it like onyomi. It's like as it is. So as it's translated. So ka ko hi ko o hi, like that word itself. Even dolphin has a kanji. Iruka.
Not iruka.
No, iruka has a kanji. That iruka has a kanji.
It's like ichigo has a kanji, and
Yeah.
I sometimes I'd look up flavors of things. I'm like, I don't know what that flavor is, and then it would be like strawberry stuff. I'm like, oh, but then when you see the ichigo one's a bit easier, it actually kind of looks like ichigo. So, those
Coffee looks like coffee too now. Like when you look at it a lot, it's like sometimes around here there's like a coffee store that has that kanji itself. Like old cafe restaurants always have that
kisaten
kanji.
kind of
Yeah,
thing.
kisaten, yeah. They have that. You should check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I know about it. Have you taken it before?
I've taken I took the JLTP. I think I started on level 3 while I was at uni, and then I did level 2 as well. But whenever you come over here, if you're trying to get a job that uses both, or even just Japanese, for kind of foreign applicants, they'll normally say you need to have at least level 1 or 2.
Yeah.
I just took level 2 back then just to, I guess, see where I was at. It would be kind of interesting to take level 1 now, I think, because because you've got the other kanji one. This one's like listening, reading, and like kind of the comprehension. So it's, wasn't as hard as, having to write actual kanji. So I reckon, maybe I'll do the N1 one day, but I feel like there's no real, need to. If you got N1 or 2, it's kind of handy though. So maybe that'll be a good one to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. Especially transitioning from rugby to outside of rugby. I think that's definitely a good tool to have. Because when I teach my English conversation classes, a couple of students wanted to know about IELTS, and I had no clue about it. So I researched about what the IELTS testing is, and it sounds similar to the Japanese style one. So that's got my mind thinking right now. So that's definitely something for me personally, to look into the future.
Yeah, because it kind of helps you having something like that. If you're like, man, I got this test in 2 months' time, it gives you something to study towards as well. Like, if I don't have anything to study towards, I don't really feel like studying. So I reckon, that's a good tool that I use, because otherwise I'm not good at motivating myself unless I've got like a deadline or something. So
no, definitely. It's like adding tools to the toolbox.
Whoa, I'm gonna write that one down.
Don't at me. But so you graduated university.
Yep.
Then you came back to Japan. Why'd you come back to Japan for?
Came over with the idea of teaching English for a few years. Stayed at my auntie's house in Yokohama. And like I said, they speak no English, so it was great.
How was it teaching English here in Japan? Was it easy to? Because I've started into that avenue, and it's a challenge at times. It's an interesting challenge, but it can be frustrating at times as well. How was it for you?
I did it at a few places. So one in Shin, Yokohama, and the guy that I taught English with, he was actually like the South African rugby ambassador of Japan. So he'd kind of do a lot of the, I guess he'd do a lot of things connecting South Africa to Japan. And that was the year that...
job?
So that was kind of, he also ran this the English school.
Oh, okay.
But on my kind of CV thing, I said I was working towards being a translator. So I think because he knew I liked rugby, he gave me an interview, and that one was just maybe 3 times a week, a few lessons a day, just going in and being like, okay, today this guy, he's on this book and this is what page he's on. So I'd spend that hour before just kind of reading through, making sure I knew everything. But there's a lot of things as a native speaker that you don't really think about, like present perfect tense and stuff that they want to, that people want to learn. So it'd just be like, oh yeah, I remember doing that at high school, but I just quickly look it up again and make sure I know what it is, kind of thing. And then another school I was doing at the same time, the other 2 days a week was it was like a juku, so like a cram school, but we'd teach like English through things like maths and like puzzles and stuff. So we do a lot of different things, but teach it all in English. So we do all these games with the kids, but we just weren't allowed to speak Japanese to them. It was kind of like the rule. You just...
Oh, I had that too, yeah. I had to hide my Japanese side. Like I look Japanese, right? So they're like, okay, can you think of a American name? Like any like foreign name? I'm like, okay. So my name was Matt.
Oh, nice.
So I hid my my Japanese name completely.
Matta sensei.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
I wasn't half Japanese. I was full Kiwi, kind of thing. Like I didn't.
So they called you Kiwi?
Yeah. That's Kiwi-chan. No,
Kiwi-chan.
I was. I think they just called me Doug or Dagu. It was kind of like, if they knew that I was half Japanese, then some people would think, oh, obviously he only knows half as much as someone who's full English, kind of thing. So I kind of had to hide it and then just pretend I couldn't speak Japanese. But so I pretty much, the youngest person I taught was like a 3-year-old who pretty much was doing 1, 2, 3, 4 thing and playing with toys and stuff with them in English. The oldest was like 70 something. So it was a wide array of things. It was fun, like especially the adults just talking to them. Sometimes I feel like I talk too much, and it's a conversation class. The teacher's speaking like 80% of the time. Like, I love rugby. Up the wires. But it was after a few years. I was kind of like, okay, I enjoyed it, but it's enough for me now because it's kind of real repetitive. After a few years, there's so many other people who are at similar stages. So it'll be like, oh, I've read this paragraph. Especially at one school, we'd use like the same books. It's the 5th time I've read this paragraph with someone, kind of thing. And then kids were they weren't there because they want to be there. They were there because they had to be there. So it was like it was pretty much just like babysitting them, kind of thing. And I always found like the girls when they were younger were real more, I guess, like, I don't know if you say well behaved, but they'd kind of react to you better. Their boys, they'd just be, running around. They wouldn't care who you were, kind of thing, and you just sit down. Suda.
I actually made a kid cry because I was so strict. Like, why can't you do this? Like, this is what it is. Say this word. This kid started crying. I'm like, oh god, this is not good. Yeah, I was a very Spartan.
Your actual name is Matt, but you had to change it because you made so many kids cry. Just like,
Run away.
I'm not Matt anymore. But it was So I think I found translation at a good time because it's a lot more stressful, but and a lot like longer hours and stuff. And I guess your schedule's a lot more rigid in terms of I can't really choose when I'm off. But I mean I've done a lot longer than I've taught, so I'm enjoying it so far.
In terms of like how they made you say you weren't Japanese, how was that for you? Like, as in terms of like your identity. Like, if someone told me, "Don't act like you're a New Zealander," that kind of would frustrate me. Like even like nowadays, like I understand sometimes it's like hide your tattoo or put it away. Like when you go onsens, and in some places you have to do it, and I fully understand. But like sometimes, like when I first came over here, I used to get told to like go to like a bar and they're like, the beach, like hide your tattoos. I'm like, this is me. This is like, it's my image, but it's a different culture. So I fully understand. But for you, how was it for you to tell them, for them to tell you to hide your Japanese side?
Like when I was there, it wasn't, I didn't really think about it, I guess, too much. But there were, a few times, like coming back to the passport thing, it's a bit frustrating having to choose one when sometimes people will look at me and be like, oh, he must be foreign kind of thing. And you don't get too much, I guess, racism as, like, I haven't experienced it that much, but sometimes you just kind of get the, you're not welcome here kind of vibe. And then it's kind of, well, if only 100% Japanese people are allowed here, then if I go back to New Zealand and they had the same policy, I'd, be allowed nowhere because I'm not 100 anything. I'm, built of a lot of things. And I think in Japan, 99% of people are full Japanese. So I think it's maybe just a bit of, I guess you say, ignorance there of people not having to experience that. So, I want to really, I guess show the benefits of knowing two cultures. And I would definitely rather know two cultures than only one, because I think it's made me appreciate, like, whenever I go overseas and there might be things that are different that I find frustrating, but then I realize that because I've known two sides of, cultures, I understand why something might be like that, and it makes you, I guess, have a bit more empathy. So, empathy.
Empathy.
Turned Nihongo. Empathy. So I think that's kind of, sometimes I don't get too annoyed at it or anything, but I sometimes just get, like, the police officer will come over to houses just to make sure, I guess, the same person's living at a place, so they go up and down the whole building regardless of who you are, just to be like, oh yeah, on our registry we've got this person living here, and just making sure it's correct and stuff.
They do that for you?
Also they've done it for like our whole building and stuff.
Okay.
So it was me and Japanese like wife staying there, and then there's like, oh, can I see your your foreign card kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I'm Japanese. And they're like, oh, can we see your passport? And then
I've done that before. Like I don't have a Japanese passport, but I just wanted to see how the cop would react.
Oh yeah.
So I was riding my bike home, and it was late. It was late at night, but I was coming home from training, and he stopped me. I got off my bike, and he was like, oh, where's your Zairyu card?
Yeah.
Your visa card? I was like, I don't have one. And he's like, why? I was like, why do you think? He's like, I don't know, you give me your visa card now. I was like, I don't have one. Why? I was like, it's pretty sad of you to assume that I'm a foreigner. And he goes, well, where's your visa? I was like, I don't have one because I'm Japanese. I'm not, but I just want to see how he reacted.
Yeah.
And his face was like, oh, sorry, sumimasen.
Yeah. I think,
and I was like, I speak Japanese, so why would you assume that? And he was like, oh, sumimasen. He was like, go on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I might do that, but maybe they might follow through until I get to show me the passport. So that was the first and last time I ever done that. But I just wanted to see how he reacted.
It's I think my wife kind of did a similar thing where she was like, why aren't you asking for my one? Like, why aren't you asking to see my passport kind of thing? Yes, like, it's not good to assume because of looks kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was, whenever it actually happens, I'm like, oh, yeah, like, I don't get it. Like, it takes a second to get my passport. But then afterwards, if I'm like going for a walk or a run or something, I always imagine like, man, I would have said this to this guy and I would have been cool. But yeah, you actually followed through with it. So, I've got a lot to learn from you, I think.
It's quite awkward because, like, if you're going for a walk, or if you're going for a run, no one carries their passport on them, like normal day-to-day life. I don't even carry my visa on me day-to-day life, so if someone asks for it, I don't have it. I have my driver's license, but I don't have my visa.
It's I always imagine like, I'm like, oh, do you want to take me home and like I'll show you it kind of thing. Like I don't know, it'll be, you want to kind of show through, I guess, your actions and stuff that there are people who might look a bit different, but I mean, you have it on Japanese TV of people who've like been born in Japan but to foreign parents or like half Japanese, and they look foreign and they got a foreign name but they are Japanese and they can't speak English and stuff. So it's you'd hope that a bit more representation will help. And I think it's just very, like, you got Osaka Naomi, the tennis player. Like when she's like, no one really heard of her that much in Japan until she was, the top, and then she was Japanese. But I feel like if she's not doing well, don't know if people would necessarily associate her as being Japanese. So,
that's actually a good thing. Like Rui Hachimura, Kotaro Matsushima, they're well-known sports athletes, but they got a Japanese name. But if you look at them, they're a bit of half in them as well. So that's actually a good thing. Like when you do, no one, what's the saying? Like, no one judges you when you're doing well, but when you're doing bad, that's when they judge you the most. And I think that's quite present here in Japan, but it's just the culture. Like, me as a foreigner, like, I'm a foreigner, I accept that. Like when they tell me to maybe hide my tattoo or stuff like that, I will always accept it because I know I need to respect the culture, but still it's part of my identity. So it's something that at first I'm like, but you just have to accept it and move on.
If you got to choose your battles sometime.
Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah, I think if you have, like, I think the biggest thing is because Japan was closed off from the world for so long, for a few hundred years. So many of the people over here are fully Japanese. Like, they've pretty much see a lot of stuff from Hollywood, but all the TV shows and stuff are Japanese TV shows, or the famous singers are Japanese, and everything's just in the Japanese bubble, and all the news from overseas is through, translated onto Japanese news, so people are watching it. And I've never really seen anything that's, a lie, but people could technically change something and say it in Japanese, and people in Japan wouldn't know if that's correct if they can't speak English. So I always think about that, like, everything's just contained in, bubble, because the main language is Japanese, and I think it'll be the same in other countries where they really only predominantly speak one language. But I think we're lucky in NZ because, we can understand English, so we can kind of, form our own opinions from stuff around the world, and we don't have to just watch it and, I guess, assume it's correct. So,
well, I think it's just culture itself. Japan, like you said, they were trapped in this country for a very long time. They haven't, like, until the black ship came in here, they never opened the border. They never knew about the outside world in the first place. So, like, when you see in the news and stuff, when you watch the news, it's like they talk about a lot of things. A lot of Japanese people believe what they say. That's like not, I guess that's like kind of like it makes them like not think critical, like they don't have critical thinking skills. So I guess that's the difference between like Japan and like foreign countries. Like, I was raised in America, so I can think critically. You guys were both raised in another country, that's why you guys could think critically. Like, if you're raised in Japan for a very long time, that might not be the case, Like, maybe your kids one day, they're not gonna have that critical thinking if they were raised in this country. So that's what I think. Even till now, I still stand by that thinking. So
I mean, you got like even the kohai senpai stuff, and like what the teacher says is, like, at school, it's no one really, I guess, questions it as much. So even in our like teams, the foreigners always are more likely to share their opinion. then like the Japanese guys, especially the first year guys who come in there and just waiting to see what the older guys say because you don't want to speak out of turn. And I think, you know, a lot of different cultures have that as well. And I think compared to like the US, New Zealand, we probably don't speak our mind as much. Like I feel like we got a lot of tall poppy stuff where if someone's too...
Definitely in New Zealand,
if you're too high, like, you know, you'll get cut down. It's about being, you know, humble and you don't bring yourself up, which is... I think, you know, having a bit of that humility is good, but so much, if you have so much that, like, whenever you're sharing something online or saying, I did this, you're kind of half expecting, you know, your mates to be like, oh, look at this guy. Like,
yeah, that's like a massive, I think, especially in New Zealand, they take confidence as arrogance. But I believe confidence is just like something where you're so proud of yourself. You're proud of yourself and you own what you do, both good and bad. But sometimes in New Zealand, they can take it as arrogance. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you think you're better than me? And it's just like, people say like, you're up here. It's like, come up. Don't try to bring me down. Come up as well. And I think in New Zealand culture, it's something that's, I wouldn't say a problem, but it's definitely present, especially when you make it somewhere.
I think that's just Western country though. Like, you know, even in America, we have that. Like people who try to like bring you down. So even in Japan has that's a major problem. Japan, you know, hierarchy. So
it's so I'm guessing you would have had a few interviews and stuff on like in Japanese, and whenever I have to translate them, it's always like the same stuff. Especially when you're talking to like a foreigner, it's like, what's your selling point? Like, it's like, what's your strong point? Like, what's good? Like, what's something that you do good on the field? And I think as Japanese people are used to those questions, and I feel like whenever you're a person on like TV or something, you know, like, oh, show us your muscles, and people are known like this over here. But in New Zealand, like, you'd get ripped to shreds.
You would get ripped to shreds if you do something like that.
But really? Like interviewers doing that?
Like if you like, so there's this sports athlete called Israel Adesanya, which is like a massive UFC star. And he's like world famous, globally famous. But in New Zealand, some people love him, a lot of people hate him because of how he knows who he is as a person, and he's so confident within himself. You have to be, if you're going to be a fighter, he's a UFC star, you're an athlete, you have to be confident. And he always speaks his mind. And like, he flaunts his flash cars and his jewelry and stuff like that. But people think he's just showing off. It's because I see it as he is treating himself for all the hard work he's in. I think it's like the latest 3 years, 4 years or 5 years, something like that, is when he's become real popular. But no one's seen the 25 years, the grind he took to get to that point. And like, there's the saying in New Zealand, do the mahi, get the treats. So if you work hard, reap the rewards. Treat yourself at times. And people take that as, this guy's just showing off, or he's just arrogant, or he shouldn't say that. You should, like sometimes, like even when we're on here, like, oh yeah, I'm the handsome one. But if some people in New Zealand, they'll say like, don't say that.
Even if it's true.
Yeah, because it's true, but
So
but like,
you get me on to make it like,
look at that. That's it. You're just putting it in you now.
I can't even see you up there.
But like, there's like, when you say something like that, it's just people are like, oh, why you say that for? Like, don't say that.
I think like that's like people who say that are more ignorant.
Yeah, like, that's pretty much what
because
it is.
Like, you know, you work, like you said, people work their butts off to get to that point. Like, you know, even like same as racism, like, you know, if people are offended by that, if people are offended by certain words, that's their level. Like, you can't accept that. Like, you know, race being like, I'm not saying like you could say racist words, like that's you're allowed to say racist words. No, that's not the case. Like, if like, you know, like people say black, whites, Asians, if they like separate you into a group, at that point, that's your level. Like, you don't look at that person as that one person, you know? Like, that's our background. That's just it. Yeah. Like, there's no point in like talking about like, you know, like arguing with those kind of people. I just never do. Like, I just don't care. Like, because I've been through a lot, like in the States, you know, like being Asian, being different. But not right now, like Asians are respected depending on the country. But yeah. So it's not that bad, but it was pretty bad during my days. So
Yeah, sure. I think, I think I was embarrassed when I was younger, before Japanese food got real popular. Like at primary school, we'd have shared lunch. So you take like a plate of food. So in NZ, if they bring a plate, it means bring a plate of food. So like everyone's kind of sharing stuff. So we do that at lunch, and my mum would make norimaki, like what you'd call sushi, I guess, in foreign countries. But I'd bring it, and then the teacher would be like, "Oh, nice," but the 5-year-olds were like, "Ooh, like seaweed," kind of thing. And
Oh,
I
yeah,
was just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm never taking that again. I'm taking sandwiches.
yeah.
So,
You went through that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I went through that too.
But
Bringing bento and stuff.
Oh,
People just like come towards you like, "What's that? What's that? Oh
Yeah,
my god,
yeah,
what is that?"
Yeah,
It's like,
true.
how can you eat that kind of stuff? Like, people are, kids. Back in the days, we're naive. Like, trust me,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's acceptable.
I think at high school though, like people started loving like foreign food, and like more, especially in New Zealand, you had more of that represented. So like we'd bring onigiri, and someone would be like, "Oh, can I swap you?" kind of thing.
Yeah.
So they'd like it a lot more. But yeah, when I was a kid, I was like, "Oh man, nothing. I don't want to stand out. Like I just want to be, as normal, I guess, as possible." So
Yeah.
I mean, in saying that, I was like the half Japanese kid who was doing kapahaka at
Me, bro.
so 7, so top off.
Kapahaga's
Like the Māori
the
kinda,
Māori group that does the Māori dance.
So
I've never done it, so
So we did
that's
singing
pretty
and
cool. You done it?
haka and stuff. So I have little, video things of like me and all the other boys. And, back then it wasn't about, oh, you shouldn't do it, or, not worrying about if you can do it without having, I guess, that blood. It was just like, that's something that everyone does at school. It wasn't just a Māori thing. It was like a Rotorua thing kind of thing.
Man,
So,
that's cool that you got involved with that. Yeah.
and then, I mean, at high school, I was year 13s, we had to teach the year 9s the school haka.
Yeah.
So I was teaching little guys who, had Māori blood in them,
Yeah.
the school haka, and, they didn't think anything was weird about that either. So it was kind of cool that everyone had that mutual respect. And I mean, we had to do it in front of them, and we'd obviously go handy, so sorry.
Yeah.
And we'd go hard, like, so just me and a few of the other guys, like, of all different countries, just, going hard,
Yeah.
just to make sure that the boys, respect the teachers that they're going to learn from. So
All right. So we talked about you, Doug, more about. So we got to know you more. Next episode, we'll talk about your work, what you do, and what you are trying to do, your achievements, kind of thing. So, anyways, everyone, thank you guys for watching DaDen. It's always a pleasure to watch.
do you do this?
Subscribe. Subscribe to our channel if you liked what you see, what you listen to, and also subscribe to Doug's podcast. He has one in Spotify.
I brought gifts for your podcast as well. I thought it's rude if I don't bring stuff, so I brought little pin badges. We sell them, I think, as the dinable as well, so they're kind of more popular than they are in New Zealand. But my lovely wife actually made these, so I thought,
Oh, okay.
Thank you to your wife.
Yeah.
These are awesome.
Yeah,
Japan
definitely.
Rugby
Those
Weekly.
are.
Thank you.
Hopefully, all your other guests, I thought it'd be cool if everyone brings something. Just put pressure on the other guests to bring something.
Joe didn't bring any.
Joe, bro,
He brought
where's the t-shirts?
Yeah, seriously.
he brought his humor.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But anyways, thank you for Thank you for
Appreciate
watching.
your time, brother.
Appreciate your
Yes.
time.
Looking forward to hearing more.
Yes, we'll definitely see you. So if you guys could tune into the next episode, we'll talk about Doug's work life a bit more. So see you guys again. If you have any last word, Jayden.
Appreciate your time today. It was real cool to hear about your backstory, especially about your identity and stuff like that. I think that was cool, man. Hearing that last part, I think me and Suda with DaDen was really trying to bring out those stories about foreigners and life in Japan, and so it was really cool to hear your story about your identity, growing up in New Zealand, coming back to Japan. So appreciate your time, brother, and looking forward to hearing more about the other side of your rugby side and your podcast side. So
Cheers.
looking forward to it. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks for having
For
me.
that, gonna love and leave you. See ya.